There we are.
Okay.
And,
10, Shirley.
what's that, Barbara?
It's 10.
Yep, it's 10. So welcome everybody to our monthly meeting. And Richard will continue to tell us what it's all about. Thank you, Richard.
Sure. So today I'm going to talk about using the numbers program on your Mac to do a very specific thing. In my retirement, I found time to customize it to help me monitor my stock portfolio. So I assume that's something that is of interest to others, and I thought I would share what I've been doing with that. So I'll go ahead and share the screen and we'll get going. All right. So when you first open the numbers app or program or whatever the right terminology is, you get to choose your template. So the neat thing about numbers is that it gives you, if you look down a little bit, you see that there's a personal finance area right down here. And there's lots of different ways to monitor your finances. And a little bit over, there's one called My Stocks. So that's the one I'm going to focus on. There's other cool ones over here for personal finance, net worth, retirement savings. Very important for me in retirement. But today we're going to look at My Stocks. And so as a template, you go down and hit create down at the bottom to open up a brand new My Stocks template. All right. So when you do that, does everyone see that, or did it come back to me? Let's see. 1 second. Okay. So when you open that up, it gives you a bar graph area under the text on how to use it and the name. And we're going to talk about how to alter all this stuff. And then below the bar graph, it defaults to three stocks. I mean, I didn't do this. The program itself just put in 3 stocks for you to look at. And I don't own any of these. So what it's doing is when you enter the symbol of a particular stock, it's going out over the internet, and that's what it says under how to use. Somewhere it should say internet. It didn't say that. But anyway, it pulls in all this information from the internet. So as long as you've got an internet connection going, it will do this automatically. So for instance, just some random stock that we want to look at. Anybody have one that they want me to type in here? Let's say Ford Motor. So if you type in, whoops, Ford Motor, and it just automatically fills in the name, the last price, and all that data. Now the shares paid, that's this column, shares, is something you have to enter in manually, of course. It's not going to populate. Now it did just because of the template. But you put those in and you put in your price paid and it calculates all the others. So what I've learned about this information is it's not real time. So you can't come in here and day trade off of this numbers app. They used to do that, but I think they turned that off when people started going crazy back in the .com bubble. I assume, I don't know for sure. But anyway, you can't do that anymore. It updates all this information sometime in the middle of the night after the trading day is over. And so the next day you can see, the results. So I'm going to leave this template and I'm going to an example that has all the modifications that I've made to the spreadsheet. And we can talk about that. And if you want to bring up your own blank template and follow along with me, please feel free. And then, you know, we can get your spreadsheet to the way you want it. And everybody has their own criteria for what they want to look at to monitor their own portfolio. So this, you know, some of this, all of this that you're going to see customizes my stuff that I use. But anything that is available could be used. All right. So let's see if I've got my example ready to go. All right. All right. So the first thing I did at the very top, I just renamed that to be dividend income portfolio, because that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in looking at things and having a portfolio that focuses on dividend income in retirement. So that's just me. I left these three items on the left the same, but you can see it's a table. So, you know, if there are certain criteria that you want to have right up there at the top, now you could click the little double underline button at the bottom left and add a row. You can click the column button up here in the upper right and add a column if you wanted to. But I just left all those the same. So it's going to show you the portfolio gain. Again, that's updated sometime in the middle of the night. It's not real time. Average yield is a number that it calculates for you. So that's the other neat thing about this template is, I mean, a lot of this stuff is done for you. All you have to do is put it in the table in the place that you want to look at it. And then it shows you the total income for all the stocks that are in your portfolio. To the right is the bar graph. Now I changed this, but it won't be real obvious until we put a few things in the table below what it's showing. So I'm going to come back to this later. All right, so if you scroll down, you'll see the actual table. And as you can see, it's quite a bit wider than the default template because I've added several columns of things that I wanted to look at. First of all, just after name, I added two columns, the cap and the sector, because I personally want to diversify. You know, I want to look at small cap, medium cap, large cap. And I want to look at all the different sectors. So you've got communication services, consumer discretion, and all the sectors. I believe there are 11 sectors to look at per cap. So there's lots of rows that are potential to fill in. If you want to diversify, you know, ideally you'd want something in every row. But my experience has been that finding good dividends is very hard to do on every single one of these rows. So you have to be picky, you know, and that's up to each individual how much they want to overload one particular cap or sector, you know, or whatever they want to do. That's what this tool is for. This tool is to let you see easily where you're overweighting a cap and where you're overweighting a sector and make a decision. Do you want to do that or do you not want to do that? Based on the other things that you're going to see in this table. Any questions so far? So the price.
I have a question, actually.
Yes. Okay.
Did you add all of those manually yourself, all of those categories?
I did. So let's
Okay.
talk.
Then you organized it by those categories?
Yes. So what the program does is, let's just add one here. Once you've got them added, and we'll have to go back to the template and do it from the beginning. You can add row above or below. So let me go back to, yeah, that's a good question. All right. So in the default table, first thing you want to do is you want to add a column before. So you click on the little caret in the C column for price, and you add a column before. I'm just going to call that cap. And you can do that again and call that sector, however, what you want to do. So I know Apple is large cap. So do that. And I'm pretty sure that's information technology sector.
Richard, do you determine your own qualifications for size of cap?
No,
Determine the difference between a large and a small and a medium?
I did not. I have all my stocks in Schwab. So they show me, and their information is right. So, all the big companies, Vanguard, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, whatever you have, you can get this information. So that's what I did there.
Were you picking your own stock or a Schwab?
I'm sorry, Larry, say that again.
Were you picking your own stocks or the Schwab pick the stocks?
I pick them, but I use this table in my own, my own criteria to pick the stocks. No one else picks them but me. But I am using the information to examine the numbers of the things that I want to look at, that I want to pick from. Okay.
Richard,
Mhm.
does it automatically add the cost basis?
Yes, well, it should. That's right. So let's say for Apple, instead of 120 shares, I wanted 500 shares. So see, it automatically updated that. And if the price I paid was...
Dad, I can't see your screen updating. I don't know if that's an issue for anyone else.
Okay.
Yes, we can, I don't see anything coming on the screen.
Interesting.
All the things you said you changed, I didn't see.
Oh, I know what I'm doing. Okay, hold on one second. I went back to a different screen. That's the issue. I'm working on the default template right now. So I put in Apple and I added this column, the cap column, and I added the sector column. I'm sure you didn't see that because you weren't looking at this. But you do that by your little caret, pull down menu. And then I just changed number of shares and price paid, and it automatically calculated the cost basis for that. So yes, it automatically calculates all the numbers except for the shares. You got to put that in, and the price for the rest of it. Facebook, let's say that is also large. And once you put in a number, it gives you, it suggests large. So you can just arrow down to large and hit enter. And that's also information technology. So we'll do that. And Ford is a large industrial. I believe it might be consumer discretionary, but without my Schwab thing up, I'm not totally sure. just call it that. Now, to group these, the way I've got it grouped over here, because you can see, well, you can't see that right now, but I group them by cap and sector so that I can manipulate the table more easily. So when I go up to the cap column, I can pull down menu, add category for cap. So when I do that, notice it adds a row. It's not really an editable row. Notice it doesn't have a number. So all these have numbers or editable rows that you can put stuff in. This is just a common labeling row based on the fact that I told it I wanted the category of cap. And so now I can expand or contract my large cap category if I wanted to declutter my screen to look at the medium and small caps. For sector, I can do that too. Add a category for sector. So this is a pretty smart program. It said, okay, he wants 2 subcategories under large, and it did that for me. I didn't. That's all I had to do was say, I want a category for sector. So now I can control the industrials and the information technology sectors individually within the large sector, the large cap. So that, I thought that's pretty cool. So that's what I did. And as you're looking at these stocks, you know, once you've got your caps and sectors established, you can pull up menu and add row above or add row below. If for some reason you've got your own sector that you like that's different from the 11, you can certainly go up here next to, let's say next to information technology, there's another sector within that you like. You can say add group above or below, and it adds a new group. And then you just put in whatever you think it is. You like IT2. So now you've got an IT2 sector of your own. And if you've got something other than the 3 caps that you like you want medium large. Okay, so now it created that and it threw it down into its own medium large cap with the IT2 sector. I didn't do this, but this is something that it lets you do. So again, it's just whatever the individual criteria is that you want to define. All right, let me go back to, unless there's any other questions on that, I'll go back to the example. All right, does everyone see the example?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone have a stock they want to try off the top of their head?
Sure. Try John Deere.
Okay, John Deere sounds like a large, so I'm just going to make that assumption right now without checking my data. Industrials, probably, right? We'll assume that.
I bought them a long time ago when they used to give out yearly reports printed because it was gorgeous pictures of tractors. And I cannot have a tractor where I live here in Dallas. So I bought John Deere instead, stock, so I could get those gorgeous pictures every year, but they don't do that anymore. It's all on computer now.
Do you know the symbol of John Deere?
I want to say it's JD, but I really don't remember.
DE, David Edward.
Oh, DE for deer, right? Thank you.
All right, so you type in DE, and when you tab over, it fills in that information. And again, I just assumed it's a large cap industrial. It didn't fill in. That's my thing.
Is that really telling me it's $394 per share right now?
Yes, as of the
Right.
closing of Friday, that's right.
Wow. A long time
How
ago
about
when I
net?
bought it, it didn't cost that.
That's right.
How about
I-
net?
Go ahead. What?
Net, NET.
Net, is that a large in IT stock?
Yes.
Okay. NET, oops. You know, I think it doesn't matter if you do capital or not, it'll just take it. I like to do all caps. Cloudflare Inc. is what that found.
I made some money on that one.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, if you notice the difference between those two stocks, over to the right, Deere has a dividend yield of 0.92%. Net has nothing, so it is not a dividend stock. So, you know, while it may work for you, that would be something I wouldn't select. That's my criteria. You know, people that are into growth stocks, you know, you may not have any dividends, or you may have a very small dividend. I think Apple has a small dividend, but it's probably considered a growth stock.
One of
For
the,
me, you know, I'm looking for companies that are a little less focused on growth and more focused on giving money back to shareholders through dividends. So
Yeah,
that's-
my broker is like you. He's more interested in making sure I'm taken care of. And I buy stock for my vacation. So I'm definitely wanting growth stock.
there you go. Okay.
And when you get old, they want you to get everything, not very little stock, and think you should turn everything into bonds. And I haven't done that. I still have the stocks I bought in the years when I used to really look into it. And they
Now,
did me very well, thank you.
the yield column S in my spreadsheet, I had to add that. That was not in the default template. So to do that, I'll just show you using this same one. I'm gonna add a column before, so I'm just gonna do a pull down menu over the column S, hit add column before, it comes up blank. And what I did was I clicked on this thing, the first empty cell, equals brings up your function. So now that I'm in the function, I type in stock and it gives me a couple of options. I don't want stock H. I'm not even really sure what that is, but I just want stock, because what stock does is tells numbers, go out and grab the information related to the stock. So
I can't see your function window, but I know what you're saying.
okay. So when I clicked on stock, it gave me more pieces of information to fill in. One is the symbol. So I click on the little gray symbol balloon, and then I go over and I click all the way over in column A is where I would type in the symbol. So when I click that in, it says, okay, you want cell A2 as your stock symbol. Yep, that's what I want. Then over for price, I don't want price. I've already got price over there in column E. It lets me do an arrow down menu. And now these are all the things that I can add to this table. And I want yield. Now I've already got yield, but this is, I'm just showing you what I did to get yield. You can do any of these things. So when you click yield, it says, okay, you got that. You hit the little green check mark and you've got yield. Now you see this giant red error symbol. What the template does, and what I ended up doing is I put an error condition so it doesn't show that red triangle. So I'm gonna do this again. Equals, the first thing you type in is a function called if error. If there's an error, if error, return. Because it wants, if there's going to be an error, you don't want the red thing, you want just a dash. So stock, symbol, click on the symbol, price, don't want price, I want yield. Let me know if I'm going too fast. If error, so now it gives me if there's an error in this cell, I just want it to show text. I'm doing quotation marks surrounding a dash. I just want to see a dash if there's an error. I don't want to see that red triangle. So now I get the dash. So that keeps my spreadsheet nice and clean visually. If you don't mind the red triangle, it's no big deal. It's the same as a dash. I just don't like seeing all that red. All right, so that's how I added the yield column, and that's how I added earnings per share. And I added a little comment to this. So when I go into Schwab, I want to find the little piece of data buried in Schwab that is the diluted earnings per share, including all the extra items. There's a specific number for that. So when I go into Schwab and I find that number, that's what I put into these cells for that stock. I won't go into what that is. Everybody can do their own determination on what they want. PE, yep, PE is one of the standard things that the pull down menu gives you. So I did that. Cash flow. All right. I won't go into why I like cash flow, but I do. And so I added that, but that is not one of the standard things. So you can't do pull down menu function in this app and get cash flow. You got to do this totally manually. So again, I go into Schwab. There is a very specific number that is called cash from operations. And that's what I put into each of these cells. And it's a little bit cumbersome the very first time you do it, because you've got 11 sectors over 3 caps. You got 33 things to do manually. So I find the number for every one of the stocks that's cash from operations, and I put it in this column. So that's where some of the work comes in. Okay. In addition to the cash flow, I also want to know, how is their cash flow growing? So I have this cash flow 5-year growth rate. Again, this is a totally manual number that I have to go into Schwab and look for. Cash flow 5-year growth rate. When I find it, I put it in that column for every one of my stocks. Now notice I've got a color coding here. This is another cool thing that I really like about this. I can go up here to format. In the upper right corner, there's a paintbrush. It says format. So when I click on that, it gives me all my options. I can format things in the tables and by cell, text. I can arrange things, but I go to cell. For that cell, I can define conditional highlighting, meaning based on the number, I want it to show red, yellow, or green. For me, red is bad, green is good, and yellow is starting to get iffy. I want it, if it's yellow, I want to look at it a little closer. So show highlighting rules. You can add a rule. So when you add a rule, you tell it, okay, I want rule 1. It gives you the pop-up menu when you click on it, greater than or equal to some number. So, okay, I want it greater than or equal to 0. And when it meets that rule, I want it to be green. So you can do fill colors, you can do text colors, bold or italic. So any of those rules. And it looks like at the very bottom, you can do some custom, your own custom style. And then rule 2, if it's less than 0, I want it red. So if their cash flow growth over 5 years is less than 0, I want to know that quickly with a color. So it tells me that. So I don't have to just look at a white screen the whole time. So that's conditional highlighting. When you're done and you hit done, now let me say a few more things. The order that you put these rules in is important. Rule 1 will take precedence over rule 2. Now, the fact that I've got greater than or equal to and less than, you won't see an effect that. But if you had overlapping rules, then your first one takes precedence over your second one. And to change that order, you just grab these 3 little lines and then hold it while you're moving, and that'll change the order of those rules. So again, in this case, it wouldn't matter since there's no overlap. When I'm done, I hit done. Now, I did that for one cell for the large cap communication services. So what I have to do now, I have to copy. So I just Apple icon C, copy that. And I got to visit, and I've already done it, but you visit every cell below that and paste, 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 all the way down. I haven't spent any time to figure out how to do that quickly other than just individually paste in all the cells. So if anybody wants to spend the time figuring out how to automate that, I did not do that. All right. I'm going to hit the format paintbrush at the top to get rid of that little area for now, because we have more to talk about. Oh, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my example yield column since I already have yield. So you click on the column caret, and then down here is delete column if you don't want a column. Okay. Annual dividend. Let me just click and see what I did here. That looks like a standard option. And you can tell when you click on the field that already has the formula in it, you should see the formula at the bottom left. So if there's an error, that's what I have in all of them. That's stock annual dividend. So the annual dividend is a standard entry in this spreadsheet. Annual income, I did myself, I just wanted to see total income. So I just multiply annual dividend, which is column X. So you can see down there X by column J, or J2 for this particular stock, is shares. So my number of shares times my annual dividend is the amount of income I'm going to get on this stock from dividends. So this, to me, this is one of my very, very important columns that I look at. I want to maximize this number at all times without giving up, based on my estimation, how good of a company this is.
Richard, will you please read your chat?
Okay. Yep. Let's see here. Chat. Since I'm sharing, I'm probably hiding it from myself. It's not that. I'm just going to have to stop the share to see if I can see it.
Yeah, the presenter can't see the chats while he's presenting. It's a problem.
Ah. No, I have not used numbers to do anything but stocks yet, so no. But I mean, you can apply these same principles of conditional highlighting and,
Okay, Richard, the reason I asked you the question, which was, is this the only thing we're going to be doing in this morning's meeting? basically. I have no interest in knowing how to look at my stocks on,
Right.
I have no interest at all in this topic. So I wondered if this meeting is totally going to be on this, or if we're going to have other things. I thought Plex was what we're going to be discussing. Plex is obviously not what we're discussing.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I tried to remove the Plex from the agenda email that everyone got. Maybe it did not. No, I couldn't get the Plex presenter.
Oh,
So maybe next month for Plex.
okay.
Yes, stocks today, but I mean, stocks is the focus, but the use of the numbers app can be applied to lots and lots of things.
Yes, I know. It's like Excel. So I know how to
Yes.
use Excel, so I could use numbers in the same way.
Yes. So as you know, if you can ignore the stock talk and look at how I'm manipulating the spreadsheet, maybe you can get a little value there, possibly.
Okay.
All right. Let me go back to my screen here. And then the final two columns are things that I added myself. I want to know what the ratio is between the cash from operations, which we already talked about in column V, cash from operations, divided by the earnings. And that's earnings per share. So that's going to be column T, earnings per share. So I put in my own little column, I did a formula, V2 divided by T2, if error dash. So that's all I did there. And then the final one is the cash pay ratio. So, I just want to know, does that company have enough cash to pay out dividends? They don't have to. Lots of companies will pay dividends that's greater than their cash from operations, but I don't like those. To me, that's just my own personal preference. People can have their own criteria. So I'm looking for that. So that formula, as you can see, is column X, annual dividend, divided by column V, cash flow. So the dividend over the cash flow. All right. So that was something I did manually. So now let's put in Apple. I don't own any Apple, but we'll just put it in to large cap information technology. And since I already have one there, there's nothing to prevent me from having another one. I can overweight that category if I want. So I'm going to add row below and put in Apple. AAPL. Okay, so there's its price as of close on Friday. Change, percent change. Notice it has a yield, a dividend yield of 0.68. Okay, it's paying something. Personally, I have that highlighted in yellow because that's a little low for me. It's not out of the realm of possibility for me, but as long as I can find something that gives more, then I'm happy. There's its earning per share and price to earning ratio. Pulled in that automatically, pulled in the annual dividend. So now what I do is I say, okay, I want to buy 100 shares of Apple. And let's say I pay the same price that was in column E, $130. Okay, your cost basis is 13,000. I didn't put in 130.21, so it's going to give me a $21 gain, fictional. And notice the columns towards the right are blank. So I have to put the cash flow and the cash flow growth rate in myself. So I would go into Schwab And let's say just hypothetically that it's doing a 1%, I'm sorry. Cash flow from operations is a number that they give. Hold on, I gotta think just a second. This is a tricky number. This is per share, that's right. So what I do is I look at the total cash from operations and I divide that by the number of shares outstanding. So just hypothetically, let's say it's $10. I don't know what it is for Apple. $10 for every share. They bring in just cash. They're generating that cash. So that's good. And let's say their growth rate over 5 years is 1%. Okay. That's in the green. That's above zero. So that's good. So I'm looking over there at annual income. I'm going to make $88 a year off of 100 shares of Apple at a 0.68 dividend yield. That's kind of paltry. I know I wouldn't look at that anymore because I don't know that I could afford more than that many shares of Apple. I don't know. It's all relative. The final two columns are extremely important to me. I want cash to earning ratio to be greater than 1. So it's green. And it is, so that's good. I want the cash pay ratio to be less than 1. And it is substantially less than 1. So that is fantastic. That's like triple green. So far in my real spreadsheet, I haven't seen anything close to 0.09. I've seen, 0.3, 0.5, 0.8, even over 1. When it's over 1, it's getting dicey. Can a company actually sustain paying dividends when their cash pay ratio is greater than 1? I don't know. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. But that's, to me, I look at that. So when the rubber meets the road, I'm looking at these last 3 columns. How much money am I going to generate income every year from this stock? How much cash are they making relative to earnings? And are they going to be able to sustain their dividends because their payout ratio is low? That's what I'm looking for down here. These other numbers are good. If these all are good, I'll look at these numbers and then I read the data on Schwab and I'll decide if I want to do that or not. So when I make the decision that I want to do a stock, I've added a button over here called Want. I want that stock after I've done all my determination. The reason I did that is because the Numbers app didn't give me a real good way of looking at lots of hypothetical purchases. I could populate a ton of these rows and look at all these numbers real quick and see all the green and yellow and red, but then how do I sort this out before I actually put money to work? So what I came up with was I added this Want column, and you can add a column, and one of the things you can put in here is a check mark. And if you look down in the formula row in the lower left, it says true, false, true, false. So when it's true, it populates column R. It's the same number as the yield, but I'm going to use it for calculation somewhere else. So when I don't want it, that column is blank. So it's not going to impact my totals. Even though I have the row, I'm looking at the row, I may not want it just yet. So it's not going to impact my numbers. So I want it. Now I've got 0.68. So when you go to the very bottom, under Want yield, there's a 0.68. So this is an average. I'm averaging the yield that I want over all the stocks that I want, and that's what it shows me. Notice that the actual average yield column is greater than 0.68 because there are these yields that we've seen from other stocks like John Deere. Well, I may or may not want John Deere. Let's say I don't, so I don't click want. So I'm disregarding the average yield column. It's there for necessity to get this column based on my want check marks. So this is my average yield. And so at the very top, you can see that the average yield at the very, very top is that want yield number. So I could have 1,000 stocks if I wanted to really be mean to myself. But the only ones that I want are what's going to show up here. 1,000 stocks in the spreadsheet, not purchased, but just for evaluation. And notice that in the bar graph, Apple is the only one that has a bar because I've told it if you hit edit data references, when you click on that bar graph, hit edit data references and scroll down a little so you can see it. I told it I want yield to be that data reference. I don't want yield. If I wanted yield to be it, no, don't delete that. Sorry. I want yield to be that. Let me see what it did. Then the dark green bar shows the yield and the light green bar shows the average yield. It didn't change the number in the table to the left because I didn't put that in that table. I would have had to put yield in that table to see that number, but I didn't. But this bar graph, lets you select, click it, edit references, yield. Now I'm trying to remember how to get rid of this one. Let me think. I don't remember how to get rid of this one since I didn't really play with that too much. Let me hit delete. Okay. The delete key on my keyboard did it. So that's how you get rid of it. So now, if you wanted that, you could see that for every single stock that you add to your table. It's going to get crowded real fast. And what happens here is you're going to start getting all these bars in this bar graph scrunching together, and the program automatically starts decluttering them for you. So it's going to start removing things with its own algorithm. I don't even know what it is, but it is not useful whatsoever. So that's why I decided I don't want to see every single thing. I want to see the yield that I want only in this bar graph. And then I can control what gets decluttered and what is not decluttered. Now, you can grab this little handle down at the bottom of the bar graph, and you can pull it to make it longer. So that's one way of solving that problem. There's only so much size I want to give to that bar graph. I don't want to make it to where I have to scroll and scroll and scroll to see my table. So I'll put it somewhere. And if it starts messing up my table like that, I can either move the handle back up or I can actually move the table. So let's just talk about that. Any questions before we keep going? All right. I'm messing myself up here. Stop doing that. Hold on one second. All right, I'm going to click off the bar graph first, and then I'm going to click on the table, somewhere on the table, format, hit my format button, go to table, which is the far left option, and it will give me a position. Everyone's pictures is in the way. Hold on one second. Table direction, height, width, width. It might be on a different, let me look at arrange. Yes, okay, I'm sorry. Not the table format, but the arrange format menu. Position. So I can move the table if I increase its Y position. So you can just hold down the Y, or you can type in a number. So let me type in 1,000 points. Moves it way down there. So you can adjust these two things so that, you know, there's minimal gap between your bar graph and your table based on how many things you want to see in your bar graph. You know, if you've got a bunch of things that you want to see and it's decluttering it, then you pull the handle down, move the table down, and get it to where both things are visible at the same time. So that's okay. And you can do other things with this bar graph. You can click it and then go to your format column over here, your format inspector, I guess you can call it. You can change the chart style and you can check what information you want to show next to this bar graph, and all these different formatting things are available to play with to make it the way you want it. You know, corner shapes, the corner sizes, gaps, lines, all that stuff, same old stuff. You can pretty that up all you want. All right, let's see what else I haven't talked about. Oh, all right. So when I pull the trigger, I say I'm buying 100 shares of Apple. I click the own button. So now I own it. So down here, what I've done is I've formatted my final row, which I call portfolio. This is my portfolio row at the very bottom. I have formatted it such that only the items that are owned are tabulated in the shares cell, which is, if you see the formula down here, is sum shares. Cost basis and value and gain. So all of that is based on the own checkbox. And so up here, portfolio gain, income, those are things for the stocks that I own. Let me make sure that I'm not saying something wrong. Hold on one second. No, you know, that might not be true. This own box just might be a visual for me that I actually own it. I could do what I just described. I may not have done it yet though, because I'm not seeing the formulas actually reflect what I just said. Let me try this. Let's say I want to buy 100 shares of Cloudflare. And I'll pay the $71.62. Messed up my Apple shares, so fix that. And let's say its cash flow from operations is $5 a share and it's growing at about 5% a year. These numbers are gray because it didn't have any dividend yield, so it's not really going to show anything over here. But if you're into growth, that's cool. All right, so now I want that, but I don't own that yet. Let me see what it did down here. See, it didn't, okay. Yeah, it's not, it's basing all of my average and sum numbers on my want, not my own. Okay, that's fine. I just haven't taken the time to go in and fiddle with my own button to make it drive some of these numbers. But you could, you know, you could spend time doing that. If I click own, it's still not showing up there. Yeah, it must just be a visual for me without really doing a whole lot, because the portfolio numbers are driven by the want button, and it's not showing up in my data references. Oh, I must have turned off inadvertently my want yield. So let's edit data reference. No, it's still there, still there. I'm not sure why Cloudflare isn't showing up in my bar graph. Boy, everything was going good till that. That's strange. Huh.
Well, it's zero, right? It's a zero.
Because
Yield.
it's not paying any dividends.
So
Dividend
thank you. Yes, you're right. It is. It's showing up. You can see net in the,
Yes.
y-axis, but it's zero. That's right. Sorry. Yep. Not paying.
Try IBM. They give dividends, or should give dividends.
Well,
All right.
use
Let's
the
do
deer
IBM.
you have on there already.
Say that again, Shirley.
Just use deer that you already have that does pay some dividends.
All right. I'll do deer, then I'll add IBM. Let's do 100 shares of deer at the same 394.22. Sorry. Buttonology. Price paid 394.22.
See, now it shows your income at 360. I like that better.
Hold on 1 second. Recover. Okay, I noticed a little tip here. Make sure when you enter the price paid that you don't get the cursor. See, when I click in there and get the cursor active, it didn't do it right. So you escape so that the green focus box is still on it, but there's no cursor. So now it's, you know, it's whatever number you type in is going to take. Thought 265.00. Oh, sorry. Buttonology again. 265. If I paid 265 a long time ago, then I've got a gain. And let me I'm going to copy and paste this field back in because somehow I got lost with my buttons. So you've got a gain of $12,922, and it pays a 0.92% dividend. So your annual income is 360, and it should have shown up over here. Only if I say I want it. Let's say I want that, and there it is. So now it shows up in the bar. It is included in my gain, average yield, and annual income for Deere and Apple. So let me add IBM. Large cap information technology, add row below my current rows. IBM, $145 a share, and it lost a little bit of money on Friday. No big deal. Me, personally, my own criteria, I don't care a whole lot on the day-to-day ups and downs. I want that dividend. So as long as they're paying a dividend, then, you know, we're good to go. 100 shares at $145 a share.
There you go. Nice income.
$656 a year. Nice. And let's just throw out some numbers here. Cash flow, cash from operations, $5 a share, growing at 5%. All right. If you look at my cash to earn ratio, it's 0.84. Now, these are just bogus numbers I'm putting in right now, but this would tell me that, you know, their cash is a little less than their earnings. The cash to earn ratio is below 1. You know, so they're having to do something to deal with that, whatever it is. And their cash pay ratio is greater than 1. So I've got that yellow. That's kind of a concern. If their cash flow was really $10 a share, now we're looking better. Now the cash to earn ratio is greater than 1. Yes, so it's green. And the pay ratio is less than 1. Still yellow. I want it, you know, I'd like to have it below something. Let me see what my rule is. So I go to Format, Cell. What are my highlighting rules? Well, I got a bunch. My rule 1 is if this is nothing, if it's an error or a dash, I just want gray text. I don't want any other formatting except gray text. Okay. Greater than 0.6, it's yellow. Greater than 0.7 is red. So now we're getting up to where I'm thinking, can they sustain that? If it's less than 0.6, I'm going to make it green. So that's what I'm really interested in seeing visually with my highlighting rules. All right, so I say that's cool with those kind of numbers. I think I want that. I'm not ready to buy it just yet, but I want to see how it impacts my totals. So now with these 3, I've got an average of all 3 of 2% with an income of $1,100 a year. So now we're talking. And you know, you just keep doing that. You just keep searching based on whatever brokerage you have an account at, all their numbers. You know, you pick a stock that has a dividend yield and you put it in and add these numbers from whatever information you can find on your brokerage. And you start evaluating. Is this good? Is this bad? Is this good? Is this bad? Do I want this? Should I own this? Or do I own this? I don't click this button until I've actually put money in play on that stock. Just for my own grins, my own visual assessment of the spreadsheet. Now notice one more thing. Again, I don't want a lot of extra stuff in this bar graph. Right now I've got net. This net company has no bar on it. I don't think I want that. I don't want to delete that because I may want to look at it in the future. You know, these companies change over time. Some of them reduce their dividends, some of them increase their dividends, some of them, you know, they change. So I don't want to delete this maybe. So I can go over here and click the arrow and I can say hide row. I just want to hide net. I don't want to delete it. I want to hide it. Let me see if that may have done something up here. Yes. So when you hide it, it does not show in your bar graph. So that's one way to clean up your bar graph if you don't want to delete something that you spent a lot of time investigating and reading about. And maybe you want to invest in some future year, just not right now. So we're going to hide that. If you want to get that back, then you can go back to something that was nearby, if you remember which one it was nearby, and you can say unhide row 9 or unhide all rows. If you don't remember, and just let's show me everything, and then you can do that. That's pretty much everything that I've learned about to modify numbers to do what I want. I'm sure there's tons more that could be done with all those other numbers that are available. So, you know, it's up to everybody to decide what criteria they want to use and how to manipulate the spreadsheet to see what they want. You know, as Barbara mentioned, you know, if a person's not interested in stocks, you could use numbers to do other things. And then you can also, there are other templates, as I showed right at the start, to do retirement income, total, what did it say, per net worth, total net worth. You can add in probably mortgages, loans, whatever you want to monitor by adding these rules and columns and categories and all that stuff you could do. Okay, any more questions?
Can you comment on how often you review your template? And, you know, basically, is that an everyday affair? And if something starts getting out, do you immediately take action to get rid of it? Or how do you?
Personally, I look at it every day, just because I'm retired and I've got time. That, you know, that can be problematic because, you know,
Yeah.
if you don't stick to your philosophy of not worrying about the daily price swings, if you start letting that get to you, I can tell you from personal experience, it can be extremely stressful if you're watching it every day. So you got to steel yourself for the days when it's going to drop like a rock versus the days when it's going to skyrocket. I mean, it's huge emotional swings. So you got to decide for yourself. Do you care? You know, if you're in it for the dividends and you don't mind just letting it go, you know, you don't have to watch it every day. I do it, you know, so I have to work on not caring about the down days. The only times that I've made changes recently is when I have found another stock that is a better dividend play than one that I already have. And that's happened a couple of times recently. So, you know, I mean, I'll see things that Kramer says online about, oh, these are the best 10 dividend stocks to own right now. Okay, he's a smart guy. I'll go look. And so I look at the ones that he recommends and I put them in my spreadsheet. And maybe there's one out of his 10 that is semi-interesting. For whatever reason, the other 9 are not interesting to me, but the one is kind of interesting. So I look at it and I compare it. I look at what cap it is. Is it a large cap or whatever? What sector is it in? Am I going to overweight my sectors if I do anything? Or is one of my sectors empty? You know, would this allow me to improve my diversification if I did this? So, you know, then I might sell one and buy the one that he recommends. But I try to keep things at about the same percentage in the whole portfolio. I try to. I don't really want to. I'm not interested in seriously overweighting one stock. That's too risky for me.
How do you get through the so-called market corrections that go way down? Did you just ride it out?
Yes, I do. As long as they don't change their dividend, which is my main concern, then I'm okay. If they were to go in, you know, if there was a huge downturn and they said, we're going to stop the dividend, big problem. So then I would really need to focus on, you know, what do I want to do now?
So do you take any other kind of information so you'll know about the company other than those numbers that they're thinking of doing this and that, or which way they're leaning, or?
Yeah, Schwab, you know, I have my portfolio in Schwab. And Schwab gives me links to Morningstar reports, which are very good. So I'll go in and click on the Morningstar report and read about what the company is all about, and what do the Morningstar analysts say about what has gone on with it, what they predict is going to go on with it. So that's very good. Yes, that is a must do. You must read the reports about whatever company you're about to put money in. You cannot use the spreadsheet to solely make your decisions.
You know, first thing I want to say is I really appreciate this because it's nice to have hardware, but it really makes a difference when somebody can tell how the computer is used to make their life better and everything. The other thing is, so kudos on that. That's the hardware is no good without the software, and the software is no good without good functions that helping you through life. But the other thing I wanted to say, do you get charged for I use Edward James for my retirement and all that kind of stuff, but I use TD Ameritrade and they don't charge me for trading. So I don't, like I said, I use that for my vacation money. So I can go in and buy something, and if I feel that and if I get nervous, like like you say, and that's why I don't pay attention to, but quarterly to Raymond James. If I'm making money, I'm happy. But on the one I have for TD Ameritrade, when I buy stock and I get nervous and I sell out of it, it doesn't cost me anything. I don't have to worry about, am I making enough money to overcome what I paid me to do that? Does Charles Schwab charge you to buy stock?
No, it does not. In fact, I believe Schwab was the very first company to introduce no fee transactions. Yeah, that used to be a huge problem. With if you did a lot of trading, you were paying the brokers. So
Right.
Schwab
And just to say this, that Charles Schwab owned TD Ameritrade. They bought him about a year ago or so.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But if you buy them and you sell them, then you really have a lot more to do on your income tax too.
Yes, in certain cases. In my case, I'm working out of my 401k, not my 401k, my IRA. I'm working out of my IRA. As long as I don't cash out anything, as long as things remain in the IRA, then my taxes are deferred. Until I do anything, to actually move money to my checking account, then they're deferred.
Yes, yes. I'm way older. I know some of those things.
Richard, I just wanted to say that this is, I know you made it all about stock, but my goodness, the things that you learned, the person could learn on this from just working with numbers is fantastic. And I took numbers and created a simple budget and put it in my phone. So every time I do an expenditure, I just enter it in my phone. It totals it by category and it totals it by month. So I know whether I'm staying online or not. And you can add or subtract rows and columns, and all your calculations remain. So utilizing the phone to do some of this is also something to think about.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Thank you again.
Yeah, Richard, this is Myron Schweitzer. I actually, under the category of full disclosure, I've been earning my living doing this, not investing on my own, but I am a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. And I actually moved to Dallas 52 years ago to go into the business at E.F. Hutton. So a few points I would tell you and everybody else. There are actually 11 sectors, as you mentioned. Those sectors are defined by the Standard & Poor's organization, and they actually added one in the last couple of years. So there are 11. In terms of capitalization, there really is no industry-wide hard numbers, but generally speaking, large cap is going to be companies whose capitalization is $20 billion or more. Capitalization is defined by the number of shares, price per share. It's just that simple. So large cap is 20 billion or more. As a reminder, Apple recently is, and I think Microsoft has crossed $1 trillion. So it's not a high threshold. Mid cap 5 to 10 billion, or 5 to 20 billion generally, and small cap 2 to 5 billion. And micro cap are smaller than that. There are companies, one point you raised, companies, how do they pay dividends if they don't have enough cash flow? It is very common for a lot of companies to actually borrow money to pay their dividends. It is not uncommon. Not all of them by far, but many of them do that. And also a lot of what you've done today is good and it's personalized, and that's the best way of doing it. But a lot of the firms will also have that kind of capability or some personalization on their own websites. So a lot of this you can see and have it downloaded for you from the websites of individual companies. But I just thought I'd add that to give you a little color behind some of the discussion.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Richard, I've done not like in detail like you have, but I simply did it on Schwab's site and picked the categories I wanted to watch in order to make that spreadsheet looking thing, which has worked for me. But I don't have all those details, but I did what you're doing a long time ago when I was your age. And it's turned out well, because now I'm sitting here old and I'm not worried about buying whatever I want to buy. The income is okay.
That's awesome. That's, where all of us would like to end up, I think.
Well, the other trick is to only make your wants fit within what you're able to do. I don't drive a Lamborghini either, it's, you stay with what you're used to. Works.
Right.
Makes life easy and pleasant.
Yes, it does.
And it was really great to see your daughter, by the way. And thank you very much.
Yeah, Richard, I'd like to add my
program.
thanks for the work you put into, and the specific pointed toward finances. You taught a lot of skills, and that's important. I appreciate that. And I sent you a private chat I'd like you to look at after the meeting and give me a call, please.
Okay, I see that. I will.
I'm sure I mentioned I didn't get a letter today or wherever it was sent out about the meeting invitation. Don't know what happened.
There's one more thing I almost forgot. There's one more thing. I have a free copy of Pixelmator Pro to give out. So we can do the random drawing again and see who wins the free copy of Pixelmator Pro.
Can I say something about Pixelator Pro?
Yes.
Their last update, one of the things that I can't do in Final Cut Pro, because I'm not smart enough, is to adjust the colors. They put a thing called, I think it's called LCU or LCT inside of it. It's like gives you a library. So what you can do is you can capture a frame in FileMaker Pro. I mean, yeah, not FileMaker Pro. Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro. Capture it, take it over to Pixelator Pro, make all the adjustments to that particular frame, take it back and import it back into Final Cut Pro, and now all of your movie has been adjusted just like it would have been in Pixelator Pro. That is so cool.
Nice, nice. All right, so 1 second here. I want to bring up my random number generator. And I'll share that here in just a second. The last giveaway we had, David Kite won. So if everyone is in agreement, if David wins this one, we'll draw again. And I'll also stay out of this one. So it needs to be.
And leave me out because I already got it too, Lawrence.
Oh, you've already got it? Okay. All right, so we've got 13 people. All right. Let me share my screen. So, and I'll just do all 13 of us just to capture everyone, but if it comes up one of the ones, then we'll just run it again. 10. Who is number 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Julian.
Myron.
No,
Is that who you have, Taylor? Myron?
Well, the sort list is different per who when you're watching. So what you see on your list won't be the same sort as mine.
Okay, we'll go with you. Taylor is the official determinator of number 10.
Julian Gloria is.
Okay. Julian, you win a copy of, is it Pixelator or Pixamator? I don't know. But they said they would give us a free copy. So what I need to do is contact the company and say, I've got a winner. Give me the details.
Richard, just a comment.
Yes.
I don't think I need this particular app, so it won't be of any use for me.
Okay, okay.
So
We can run the
give it to somebody
generator again.
else.
Let me do that one more time. And we'll see if we can find somebody who can use the program. Okay, no, not number 10. Number 7. Who is number 7?
3, 4, 5, 6. Mr. Richard Stoddard, the famous. Yo, Richard.
Hey,
You've been awful quiet today.
well, I tried to ask a question and I was muted, so.
Uh-oh.
All right, Richard, can you use that program?
Yes.
Very good. All right. That is all I have for today.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you for going over that.
Yes, thank you, Richard.
Yes, thank you.
thank you very much. Great program.
Very good. Okay.
Okay, well, I'll see what we can do for next month.